A black waitress thinks she can barge into our wedding? Eleanor's voice sliced through the air, sharp as a blade, her eyes narrowing on Maya like venom. The twins' wails pierced the room, relentless, drowning out the vows. Richard froze, his jaw clenched, as over 300 guests turned, breaths held in stunned silence. Eleanor's lips curled in disgust, her manicured hand waving dismissively. "Get her out, now!" The cries escalated, a chaotic storm, guests shifting uncomfortably in their seats, whispers erupting like sparks. Maya's fist tightened at her sides, her heart pounding, but she stood firm, gaze locked on the screaming infants. Richard's face flushed, torn between his bride's fury and the piercing shrieks echoing off the walls. Eleanor's heel stomped once, echoing the twins' howls, her control slipping with each second. Richard's twins screamed louder, their tiny faces red and twisted in distress, fists flailing against the nanny's trembling hold. Eleanor spun toward him, her veil whipping like a lash. "Do something, Richard! This is our day!" Her voice cracked with rage, fingers digging into his arm, nails biting skin, her influencer facade crumbling under the spotlight she craved. Richard, the tech CEO whose empire demanded perfection, felt sweat beat on his brow, his tie suddenly choking. He glanced at the babies, guilt stabbing deep from months of absent fatherhood since his wife's death. Maya stepped forward, her uniform crisp despite the chaos, her Brooklyn grit shining through dark eyes that held steady. "The kids need calm," she said, voice low but unyielding, drawing Eleanor's glare like a magnet. Guests murmured, phones discreetly raised, tension coiling tighter. Richard's pulse raced. He knew Eleanor's demands, her need to orchestrate every frame for her followers, but the cries drilled into his skull, forcing a crack in his armored resolve. Maya's presence lingered, a quiet force amid the storm, her hands itching to soothe as memories of volunteering at the hospital flooded back. "I can help with the babies." Maya's words cut through the din, firm and direct, her stance unwavering as she eyed the writhing twins. Eleanor's head snapped around, eyes blazing. "Help? From you?" She laughed, a cold cutting sound, stepping closer to tower over Maya. "You're just the help. Stay in your lane." Maya's cheeks burned, but she swallowed the fire, her mind flashing to her grandmother's lessons on enduring slights in a world that undervalued her. Richard opened his mouth, but Eleanor cut him off. "Richard, tell her to back off." Her grip on his sleeve tightened, knuckles white, desperation masking as authority. She couldn't let this ruin her curated perfection. The twins' sobs speaked, a duet of misery, guests exchanging uneasy glances. Maya held her ground, breath steady, driven by the raw need in those infant cries, echoes of the children she'd comforted in Brooklyn clinics. Richard's eyes darted from Eleanor's furious scowl to the twins' heaving chests, each a hammer to his conscience. "Wait," he muttered, voice gravelly, pulling his arm free. Eleanor's face twisted in shock. "What? You're listening to her?" But he ignored her, stepping toward Maya, the weight of his lost wife's memory pressing down. He'd failed as a father once, buried in boardrooms. "Let her try." The words escaped like a confession, his shoulders slumping under the guest's stares. Maya's nod was subtle, gratitude flickering in her eyes, fueled by her unshakable drive to protect the vulnerable. Eleanor's breath hitched, fury boiling over, but the room hung in suspense, the cries softening just a fraction in anticipation. If you're watching from New York or anywhere across America, drop a comment. Where are you tuning in from? Hit that like and subscribe if real-life twists like this grip you. This isn't just a wedding gone wrong. It's a miracle unfolding from the unlikeliest hands, turning a $5 million disaster into a raw awakening that reshapes lives forever. "Who does she think she is?" A guest's hiss sliced the air, eyes raking over Maya's uniform like filth. Maya squared her shoulders, chin lifted, ignoring the sting as whispers multiplied, sharp jabs about her skin, her place. Eleanor's smirk fueled the fire, her gaze boring into Maya, daring her to falter. Guests leaned in, lips pursed in judgment, one woman clutching her pearls, breath quickening with disdain. Maya's pulse hammered, fists clenched behind her back, memories of Brooklyn's slight stealing her spine. She wouldn't break. Richard shifted, his silence a weight, but Maya pushed forward, steps deliberate toward the twins, each whisper a lash she absorbed without flinching. The room pulsed with unspoken barriers, her every move dissected, yet she locked eyes with the babies, resolve hardening like iron. "This is a joke, right?" Eleanor's voice cut like a whip, her heels clicking as she stormed toward Richard. "Your wedding isn't a charity case, darling." Her words dripped venom, eyes flashing at Maya, who stood firm, hands steady despite the bile hurled her way. "She's nobody," Eleanor snapped, cutting off Richard's attempt to speak, her manicured nails slashing the air. Guests snickered, glasses clinking in smug approval, their laughter a blade twisting in Maya's gut. She bit her lip, tasting iron, her grandmother's voice echoing. "Endure, always endure." Eleanor's face flushed, her influencer mask slipping, desperate to crush this intrusion on her perfect stage. Richard's jaw tightened, his silence louder than her shrieks, as Maya's gaze never wavered, anchored by the twins' distant wails, her purpose unyielding. Richard's fists clenched, knuckles white, as Eleanor's voice stabbed the air. "Fix this, Richard," she hissed, her glare searing. His eyes flicked to the twins, their cries clawing at his chest, unearthing buried grief. His late wife's smile, her warmth, gone. Maya's steady gaze met his, not pleading, but demanding he see her strength. "Enough!" he barked, voice low but sharp, silencing Eleanor's next jab. Her eyes widened, betrayed, as guests gasped, phones discreetly raised. "Let her continue," Richard said, stepping toward Maya, his shoulders heavy with a father's guilt. Her nod was firm, fueled by a fire to shield those babies. Eleanor's lips trembled, fury rising, but Richard's choice hung like a blade, slicing through the room's tension, leaving a charged silence that promised more chaos. "Hand them over." Maya's command sliced the silence, her arms extending toward the nanny, who thrust the squirming twins forward without a word. The baby's screams battered her ears, but she cradled them close, one in each arm, her body rocking instinctively. Eleanor's scoff rang out. "You can't seriously—" But Maya ignored her, fingers gentle on the infants' backs, tracing circles to mimic a heartbeat's rhythm. Richard watched, breath caught, as Maya's touch eased the first sob into a hiccup, her Brooklyn-honed patience shining through sweat on her brow. The twins' tiny hands clutched her uniform, faces burrowing into her warmth, cries fading to whimpers. Guests held still, jaws slack, as Maya hummed low, a fragment of an old lullaby from her grandmother's knee. Eleanor's arms crossed tight, jealousy flaring in her eyes. She'd never held them like this, her influencer life too polished for such a mess. Richard's chest tightened, guilt surging. He'd outsourced fatherhood, but here Maya commanded the storm, turning chaos to fragile peace with hands that knew true care. "Grab that silk napkin, now!" Maya's order barked out, her hand snatching the fabric from a nearby table, guests recoiling as crumbs scattered. She twisted it into a makeshift sling, deft fingers knotting tight, ignoring Eleanor's snarl. "You're ruining everything." Eleanor lunged forward, but Richard blocked her, his arm a barrier, eyes locked on Maya's swift moves. Maya hoisted the twins against her chest, the sling binding them secure, her body swaying in a slow, rhythmic dance, hips rolling like waves from her grandmother's old stories. The baby's whimpers hushed, heads nestling into her curve, breath syncing with her hum, a soulful melody rising from deep in her throat. Notes of forgotten folk tunes that silenced the room. Guests' smirks faded, replaced by wide-eyed awe, one man dropping his glass with a clatter. Eleanor's fists balled, nails digging palms, her jealousy a storm brewing. She'd posed for photos with those kids, but never felt their weight like this. Richard's breath caught, a flicker of recognition hitting hard. This was the care he denied them, raw and real. Maya kept swaying, the twins drifting to sleep, peace descending like a veil, but beneath it simmered the fury that would soon erupt into irreversible fallout. "What the hell was that?" Eleanor's snarl ripped through the hush, her face twisting in rage as the twins' breaths evened out in Maya's arms. She lunged at Richard, fingers jabbing his chest. You let her steal the show! Her voice cracked, cheeks flushing crimson, jealousy coiling like a snake. She'd scripted this day for likes and shares, not some outsider's triumph. Richard recoiled, his hand rising to block her, but she shoved past, eyes locked on Maya. Hand them back, now! Maya's grip tightened on the sling, her jaw set, protective fire blazing. She'd soothed countless kids in clinics, but this felt personal, a stand against the venom. Guests murmured, tension spiking anew, phones capturing every glare. Eleanor's breath heaved, her veil askew, control shattering as the room's peace mocked her fury, a fragile calm that hinted at the storm about to break loose. She's just a waitress. Eleanor's voice slashed through the room, her finger stabbing toward Maya, who stood cradling the now quiet twins. Get her out! She doesn't touch my kids! Her eyes blazed, lips trembling with scorn, each word a calculated blow to keep her spotlight untarnished. Maya's chest tightened, her teeth grinding, but she held the babies closer, their warmth anchoring her against the venom. Richard froze, his face paling, hands twitching as if to intervene. But Eleanor cut him off. Richard, do it! The pastor stepped forward, voice low. Mind your words, Eleanor. Guests shifted, some smirking, others filming, their whispers fueling the fire. Eleanor's heels clicked, advancing on Maya, her fury a mask for fear. She'd built her brand on perfection, and this nobody was unraveling it. Maya's eyes met hers unyielding, her silence louder than any retort, daring the room to see the truth beneath the chaos. Smile for the cameras, Eleanor. You're viral now. A guest's whisper sliced the air, phone screens lighting up as videos captured her rant. Eleanor's head jerked, eyes widening at the flashes, her hand flying to her mouth too late. Stop filming! She snarled, swatting at the nearest device, but it slipped away, guests backing up with smirks. Maya shifted the twins gently, her pulse steady, watching Eleanor's facade crack. The influencer queen exposed, raw and ugly. Richard's brow furrowed, his silence turning to steel as he pulled out his phone, notifications flooding in. What have you done? He muttered, voice low, scrolling through clips of her slurs. Eleanor's breath hitched, cheeks burning, her empire of filters crumbling under the weight of unedited truth. She'd chase clout, but this backlash would bury her. The pastor cleared his throat, but Eleanor ignored him, spinning toward Maya. This is your fault! Guests' murmurs swelled, judgment shifting like a tide, leaving Eleanor isolated in her own storm, a revelation that clawed deeper into Richard's resolve. You're blind, Richard. Wake up! Eleanor's hiss pierced his ear, her hand clutching his sleeve, but he yanked away, eyes fixed on Maya and the sleeping twins nestled against her. His heart hammered, visions crashing in. His late wife's pale face in that New York hospital bed, her final breath stolen by complications, leaving him with guilt that boardrooms couldn't bury. Maya's sway held steady, her dark eyes calm amid the storm, a pillar where he'd built walls of wealth. How? He whispered, voice cracking, stepping closer as guest phones buzzed with shared videos. Eleanor grabbed him again. Don't ignore me. But he shrugged her off, his fists balling, the weight of absent nights with his kids crushing down. He'd hired nannies, chased deals, but never felt this raw peace. Maya's hum lingered, a melody echoing his wife's old songs, stirring a forgotten ache. She's got it, he muttered, awe edging his tone, his shoulders slumping as truth hit. Family wasn't penthouses or poses, but this unyielding hold. Eleanor's eyes narrowed, sensing the shift. Richard, no, she started, but he turned, gaze hardening on her slurs replaying in his mind, her brand of control exposed. Maya's fingers adjusted the sling, her breath even, driven by memories of volunteering at that same hospital, comforting strangers in grief. She'd seen men like him break, and now he cracked wide open. Guests leaned in, tension thick, as Richard's hand trembled, reaching toward the twins for the first time that day, his empire's armor shattering. Eleanor's breath quickened, panic rising. She'd molded him for her narrative, but this moment stripped it bare. He touched a tiny hand, warmth flooding him, guilt twisting into resolve. He'd failed before, but Maya's quiet strength mirrored what he'd lost, igniting a fire to reclaim what mattered. The pastor watched, Bible clutched, as Richard's voice rose. "This ends here." Eleanor's face drained of color, her world tilting while Maya met his eyes. A silent nod sealing the unspoken alliance that promised to upend everything. "No wedding today." Richard's voice boomed, steady and final, as he descended the altar steps, ignoring Eleanor's gasp. Her hand shot out, clutching his jacket. "Richard, stop!" But he shook her off, stride unyielding, eyes fixed on Maya and the twins' peaceful forms. Guests erupted in murmurs, chairs scraping as bodies leaned forward, shock rippling through the crowd. Eleanor's face crumpled, tears streaking mascara, her pleas sharp. "You can't do this." Richard paused at Maya's side, his hand brushing a twin's cheek, warmth piercing his numbness. He'd chased power, but this betrayal of his kids ended now. "Thank you," he told Maya, voice rough, gratitude raw from a man who'd lost too much. She nodded, sling secure, her strength a silent anchor amid the frenzy. The pastor closed his Bible with a snap, head shaking, while Eleanor's sobs escalated, fists pounding air. She'd staked her brand on this union, now shattered. Richard faced the room chin high. "It's over." Phones flashed brighter, capturing the fall, a decision that sealed fates and sparked the media blaze to come. "Wedding implodes, CEO dumps bride." Headlines screamed across screens, notifications exploding on phones as guests fled the venue, whispers turning to shouts. Eleanor's sobs echoed, her hands clawing at Richard's back. "Fix this." But he turned away, cradling a twin from Maya's sling, his touch tentative, guilt etching lines on his face. Maya stepped back, breath steady, her role shifting from savior to witness as cameras flashed relentlessly. CNN alerts buzzed. "Influencer's racist rant goes viral. Harlan calls off nuptials." Richard's phone vibrated nonstop, board members texting fury. He'd built an image of stability, now cracked wide. Eleanor's agent called, voice frantic. "Damage control, now!" But she collapsed into a chair, mascara streaking, her empire of followers fracturing with each retweet. Maya slipped out quietly, heart racing from the exposure, her Brooklyn anonymity shattered. The media storm raged, clips looping Eleanor's slurs, praising Maya's calm. A scandal that thrust them all into the spotlight, secrets bubbling closer to the surface. "I'm the victim here." Eleanor's tear-streaked face filled screens in her hastily posted video, voice breaking as she clutched a tissue, mascara running like accusations. "Betrayed on my wedding day, humiliated by that woman." Her words flew like arrows, twisting the narrative to paint Maya as the intruder, her followers flooding comments with sympathy she craved. Richard stared at his phone, jaw locked, refusing calls from reporters. He cradled a twin in his penthouse, the baby's soft breaths drowning out the noise, his silence a shield for the fragile peace he'd found. Maya's phone buzzed with threats, but she muted it, focusing on the infant's needs, her resolve ironclad from years of facing down worse in Brooklyn. Public backlash surged, activists calling out Eleanor's slurs on social media, hashtags like "What's Justice for Maya" trending nationwide. Eleanor's sobs escalated in the clip. "She stole everything." But Richard turned off the feed, his hand gentle on the baby's back, guilt evolving into quiet determination. He'd speak when ready, not to defend, but to rebuild. Eleanor's agent paced, damage reports piling up, her empire cracking further with each ignored plea. Maya glanced at Richard, their eyes meeting in shared understanding, a bond forging in the fallout's fire, hinting at truce yet to unfold. "You're a hero or a homewrecker." The text buzzed on Maya's phone, her screen glowing in the dark, fingers scrolling through hate and praise that kept sleep at bay. Her chest heaved, breaths shallow as notifications piled up, reporters hounding, strangers judging her skin, her nerve. She paced her tiny Brooklyn apartment, grandmother's quilt clutched tight, memories of the wedding's venom replaying like knives. A knock shattered the silence. She yanked the door open, envelope in hand, from a courier. From Harlan, he grunted, vanishing. Maya tore it open, eyes widening at the letter. Help with the twins. 2 weeks, 60 an hour, room if needed. Richard's scrawl hit like a punch, his desperation raw. He glimpsed her strength, craved it for his shattered world. Her jaw clenched, doubt surging. Bills loomed, tuition gnawed, her grandmother's meds a constant ache. Why me? She whispered, crumpling the paper. But visions of the babies' faces tugged hard. She'd volunteered in hospitals, soothed orphans, but this pulled deeper, a chance to heal beyond slurs. Richard, in his penthouse, paced too. Twins' cries faint on the monitor, his guilt averse. He'd outsourced life, now begged for her touch. Maya's phone rang, unknown number. Accept, his voice urged, cutting her off before she spoke. You saved them once. She hesitated, breath catching, her resolve cracking under the weight of opportunity and fear. Eleanor's viral sobs echoed in her mind, a taunt. But Maya straightened, fingers dialing back, a decision brewing that would bind their fates tighter. You're fired! Effective now! The catering boss's voice barked through the phone, cutting Maya's breath short, her hand gripping the device like a lifeline. Client complaints, too disruptive. Eleanor's influence hit like a slap, her viral fury pulling strings to crush Maya's world. Maya slammed the phone down, chest heaving, tears stinging eyes. She'd scraped by on tips, now stripped bare, bills mocking from the table. Richard's offer loomed in her mind, 60 an hour, a beacon amid the wreck. No choice, she muttered, fingers trembling as she texted back. I'll start this afternoon. Her jaw set, resolve igniting. Those twins needed her, and she'd claim this path, turning loss into a fierce step forward. Richard exhaled in relief at the message, his penthouse silence broken only by infant gurgles, anticipation building for the ally about to cross his threshold. Open up, it's me. Maya's knock echoed sharply, her fist pounding the penthouse door, heart slamming as the latch clicked. Richard swung it wide, shirt rumpled and stained with formula, eyes hollow from sleepless vigil. You're here, he rasped, stepping aside, his vulnerability raw. He'd commanded boardrooms, but fatherhood stripped him bare. Maya crossed the threshold, bag slung over her shoulder, senses hit by the heavy quiet broken only by a twin's weary cry. She zeroed in on the sound, striding past him, her Brooklyn hustle cutting through his hesitation. Where are they? She demanded, voice steady, driven by the pull of those infants she'd silenced once. Richard pointed, hands shaking, guilt flashing in his gaze. He'd ignored them for deals, now begged for her fix. Maya scooped up the fussing baby, checking the diaper with expert flips, her touch instinctive, calming the whimpers instantly. Richard watched, breath held, awe cracking his facade. This stranger commanded what he'd fumbled. How do you know? He muttered, edging closer. She glanced up, eyes fierce. I listen. The other twins stirred, a chain reaction brewing, pulling Richard into the fray he could no longer avoid. They're hungry. Hand me the bottle. Maya's snap cut through the cry, her arms already scooping the second twin as the first one's wails triggered a duet of distress. Richard fumbled in the kitchenette, cabinets banging open, his CEO precision crumbling under the chaos. He'd sealed multi-million-dollar deals, but a simple feat escaped him. Where is it? He growled, frustration boiling, sweat beading on his forehead. Maya shifted the babies, one on each hip, her voice sharp. Fridge. Top shelf. Warm it under hot water, not in the microwave. He obeyed, hands shaking, the bottle slipping once, clattering to the floor. Damn it, Richard's curse echoed, his face reddening, guilt surging from nights he'd left them to nannies while chasing acquisitions. Maya snatched the bottle, testing it on her wrist, her movements fluid, born from endless shifts at Brooklyn daycares and hospital vols. Like this, she said, tilting it to the infant's mouth, the sucking sound silencing one cry instantly. Richard watched, breath ragged, envy twisting in his gut. She commanded this realm he barely knew, her calm a mirror to his wife's lost touch. The second twin arched, screams piercing, and Richard reached out. Let me. but his hold was awkward, the baby squirming free, cries amplifying. "No, support the head," Maya barked, guiding his arms with firm hands, her fingers pressing his into place. He stiffened, ego bristling, but the warmth of the tiny body melted resistance, a father's instinct flickering alive. "Listen to them," she urged, voice softening just a notch, her eyes locking his. "They tell you what they need. Stop fighting it." Richard's jaw unclenched, the bottle finding lips, milk flowing as the room hushed, peace descending like a hard-won victory. Maya stepped back, wiping her brow, her drive unyielding. She'd patched families in crisis before, but this man, broken by loss, tugged at hidden scars from her own absent father. He met her gaze, vulnerability raw. "I don't know how." She nodded, no pity, just truth. "You learn by doing." The twins settled, breath sinking, but Richard's hand lingered on the bottle, a quiet admission. He'd hired help, but Maya taught presence, cracking open wounds he'd ignored. Eleanor's echoes faded in his mind, replaced by this raw tutorial, a bond forming in the mess of spilled formula and stifled sobs. Maya adjusted a blanket, her resolve steeling. She'd stay for the kids, but guiding this tycoon meant navigating his shadows, a path laced with unspoken revelations waiting to surface. "Those kids are mine too. Give them back." Eleanor's demand exploded through the penthouse door, her lawyer flanking her like a shadow, eyes cold and calculating. She stormed in, heels stabbing the floor, face twisted in feigned maternal rage. She'd ignored the twins for photo shoots, but now clawed for leverage to salvage her crumbling brand. Richard blocked her path, arms crossed, his voice a growl. "You've never been their mother." Her laugh cut sharply, hand waving dismissively. "And you let that nanny play house? Pathetic." Maya froze in the nursery doorway, babies stirring at the noise, her protective stance hardening. She'd poured her soul into their care, echoes of her own fractured childhood fueling her fire. Eleanor's lawyer thrust papers forward. "Custody petition, joint rights now." Richard snatched them, knuckles whitening, guilt from his absent past clashing with newfound resolve. He'd learned presence from Maya, wouldn't yield. "You dumped them on strangers," he shot back, voice rising. Eleanor's eyes narrowed, tears forced for effect. "I'm fighting for them." But her grip on the lawyer's arm betrayed desperation, her influencer facade cracking under the weight of lost followers. Maya stepped forward, voice steady. "The kids need stability." Eleanor whirled on her. "Shut up! You're nothing!" The air thickened, tension coiling, as Richard's hand signaled Maya back, his decision brewing to drag this into court, where truths would shatter illusions. "She's just the help. Replaceable." Eleanor's venom spat through the baby monitor, her voice crackling like static in Maya's ear as she paused in the hallway, hand frozen on the nursery knob. Richard's retort boomed back. "She's the one up at dawn, knowing their cries. Not you." Eleanor's laugh sliced sharply, heels pacing, audible thuds. "Turn this against me. Finally, the court will see the truth." Maya pressed closer to the device, breath shallow, fist clenching. She'd patched broken homes in clinics, but this invaded her core, slurs echoing her grandmother's endured battles. The lawyer interjected, voice slick. "Evidence, Mr. Harlan. We'll bury you." Richard's chair scraped. "Bury this. She's the mother they need." Eleanor's tone dropped low, lethal. "That black nanny won't raise them. I'll make sure she knows her place." Maya's jaw locked, teeth grinding, fire surging. She'd volunteered at his wife's deathbed, unseen comfort in shadows now twisted into ammunition. Richard slammed a fist. "Enough! She's family now." Eleanor's breath hitched, threats spilling. "See you in court. I'll take everything." The call ended with a click, silence heavy, but Maya straightened, resolve hardening like steel. She'd fight silently for the twins as revelations simmered, ready to boil over in the legal arena. "You're unfit, admit it." Eleanor's lawyer's bark echoed off the courtroom walls, his finger jabbing at Richard on the stand, eyes gleaming with predatory glee. Richard leaned forward, voice steel. "Unfit? She's the one who called them props." The judge's gavel cracked once, silencing murmurs from the gallery where Maya sat rigid, hands clasped tight, her pulse thundering. She'd nurtured those twins through nights of fever, now thrust into this arena of lies. Eleanor's face paled under makeup, her lawyer cutting in. Objection! Speculation! But the judge waved it off, eyes narrowing. Overruled! Proceed! Richard's attorney thrust forward. Exhibit A. The wedding video, Eleanor's slurs blaring from speakers. She's just a black waitress, gasp rippled, Eleanor's fist balling under the table, her brand's remnants shredding with each replay. That's twisted, she hissed to her lawyer, who shushed her sharply. Richard's voice rose. Exhibit B, recordings from the monitor. She called them leverage. The audio played, Eleanor's cold tone damning. I'll replace that nanny after I win. Maya's breath caught, memories flashing, comforting Richard's dying wife in those hospital shadows, unrecognized until now. The lawyer pounced. And Exhibit C, medical records, no pediatric visits from her in months. Charts flashed on screen, stark in black and white. Eleanor's chair scraped back. Lies! But her lawyer yanked her down, sweat beading on his brow. Richard locked eyes with Maya across the room, a nod subtle but firm. He'd unearthed her volunteer logs from the hospital, tying her to his past grief, a bombshell waiting. The judge leaned in, pen scratching notes, tension coiling as Eleanor's facade crumbled. Tears forced, but unconvincing. She'd scripted motherhood for optics, now exposed raw. Witnesses stirred in line, ready to testify, but Richard's evidence piled like bricks, sealing paths to a verdict that loomed unforgiving. She's the real caregiver. I've seen it. The daycare director's voice rang out from the stand, her finger pointing at Maya in the back row, eyes fierce with conviction. Eleanor's lawyer leapt up. Objection! Bias! But the judge hammered the gavel. Denied. Continue. The witness leaned in, words tumbling sharp. Daily logs show Maya tracked every feed, every milestone. Richard joined her, hands-on for the first time. Eleanor's face contorted, nails digging into the table, her maternal act fracturing. She'd skipped those sessions for influencer gigs, now exposed. Richard nodded subtly from his seat, his chest tight, gratitude surging for this ally who'd witnessed his transformation from absent tycoon to present father. The lawyer pressed. And Eleanor? The director's gaze hardened. Never showed. Not once. Gasps echoed, reporters scribbling furiously, the gallery buzzing like a hive. Eleanor's breath hitched, tears welling for the cameras, but her lawyer cut in. Irrelevant. The judge's eyes narrowed. Sustained? No. Overruled. Next, the pediatrician took the stand, stethoscope dangling, voice clinical and cutting. The twins hit milestones early under their care. Weight gained steady, no issues. He flipped charts, data stark. Eleanor's visits, 0 in 6 months. Eleanor's chair scraped, her whisper to counsel frantic. Stop him! But the lawyer shushed her, sweat glistening, her scripted victimhood unraveled with each fact. Maya sat straight, fists clenched in her lap, heart pounding. She'd logged those nights of colic, her volunteer passed at the hospital, linking her invisibly to Richard's grief, now amplifying her role. Richard's attorney pounced. Any concerns with Maya? The doctor shook his head. None. She's instinctive, like a pro. Eleanor's eyes darted to Maya, venom flashing. She dismissed her as help, but this testimony crowned her indispensable. The judge cleared his throat, calling the final witness, a social worker who'd monitored the penthouse. Richard's engaged now, reads to them, changes diapers. Maya's the glue. Eleanor's sob escaped, genuine fear cracking her facade. She'd leveraged the kids for clout, now losing grip. The lawyer grilled. Biased observation. But the worker stood firm. Facts don't lie. Closing arguments flew like blades. Eleanor's side painted her as a wronged mother, voice pleading. I deserve a chance, Richard countered, evidence stacking. Neglect speaks louder. The judge recessed briefly, tension choking the air. Maya meeting Richard's gaze across the room, a silent pact forged in chaos. He returned. gavel poised. Custody to Richard Harlan, full temporary rights. Eleanor, supervised visits after parenting classes and counseling. The hammer fell, cracking like thunder. Eleanor's wail pierced the room, body slumping as bailiffs approached. Richard exhaled, shoulders dropping. Victory bitter, but just. He'd reclaimed his family. Maya's quiet strength the key. Maya rose slowly, breath steady, her unseen ties to his past ready to reshape their future beyond the courtroom's glare. Forget the jet. I'm staying put. Richard's declaration sliced through his assistant's protest. Phone slammed down as he tossed aside the travel itinerary, his penthouse now cluttered with toys and crayons instead of sterile glass. Eleanor's echoes faded, her supervised visits a distant thorn. He'd traded boardroom battles for bedtime stories, his hands once gripping contracts, now cradling books with worn pages. Maya watched from the doorway, arms crossed, a faint smile cracking her guard. She'd molded this tycoon into a father, her Brooklyn tenacity rubbing off. Richard knelt by the twins, their giggles erupting as he built block towers, his laughter genuine, unscripted, guilt from his wife's death easing with each shared moment. "Daddy's here," he murmured, voice thick, eyes glistening. He'd buried grief in work, but court victory forced him to unearth it, rebuilding on presence over power. Maya stepped in, handing him a sippy cup. "They're thriving. You too." He nodded, hand brushing hers briefly, vulnerability flashing. He'd learned her rhythms, her strength filling voids he'd ignored. The room hummed with life, diapers changed without fumble, meals shared at a messy table. His empire ended back. Priorities flipped. Eleanor's media jabs bounced off now, her brand in ruins while his family bloomed. Richard rose, twins tugging his pants, a quiet vow in his stance. No more absences, just this raw, unpolished home he'd forged from ashes. Stay, not as help, as us. Richard's words struck like a command, his hand extended across the dinner table cluttered with half-eaten plates, eyes locking Maya's with raw intensity. She froze, fork midway to mouth, breath catching. He'd evolved from distant boss to this man who now mixed formula without spilling, his vulnerability exposed in late-night feeds. "You built this," he pressed, voice low, cutting off her protest before it formed. Maya's jaw tightened, memories surging, her grandmother's lone struggles mirroring this makeshift home, pulling her in despite walls she'd built. "I'm not charity," she shot back, voice sharp, standing abruptly, chair scraping loudly. He rose too, blocking her path gently, his touch on her arm electric, not forceful. "Not charity, partner." The twins cooed from the playmat, their reaches toward her, tugging at hidden strings. She'd read them stories 6 nights straight, her folk tunes lulling them where gadgets failed. Richard's shoulders slumped, confession spilling. "I was lost. You showed me presence." Her eyes softened, fists unclenching. She'd volunteered in shadows, comforting his kind before. But this bond wove deeper, unspoken ties from the hospital surfacing in shared glances. "What if I say no?" she challenged, stepping closer, pulse racing. He met her gaze unwavering. "You won't. We need you." Eleanor's distant threats faded in his mind, replaced by this rhythm. Evenings of him fumbling burps while she guided, laughter erupting over spilled milk. Maya hesitated, hand brushing a twin's cheek, warmth flooding her. She'd fled connections, but here, family beckoned, raw and real. "Trial run," she conceded, voice firm but yielding. He nodded, relief flashing, pulling a chair for her again. Their partnership igniting. Not romance yet, but a fierce alliance forged in chaos, promising to redefine bonds beyond blood. "Make it real, now!" Richard's fist pounded the table, blueprints scattering as he locked eyes with Maya, his voice a command born from courtroom scars. She'd transformed his void into vitality. Now he'd channel it outward, her name etched beside his in the fund's charter. "For single moms like you fought through," he pressed, cutting her doubt short. Maya's brows furrowed, arms folding tight, fire flashing. She'd scraped by in Brooklyn, volunteering scraps, never dreaming her grit would fund a center for women crushed by systems. Not just my name, she shot back, voice sharp, stepping closer, her hand jabbing the paper. Heart first, education, care, no barriers. He nodded fiercely, pen scratching signatures, their alliance igniting action. He'd pour millions into affordable childcare. Maya leading the charge with programs echoing her hospital shifts and grandmother's resilience. Inspired by her, Richard muttered, eyes distant, his late wife's memory fueling the drive. She'd battled alone too, a ghost now honored. Maya's jaw set, resolve surging. She'd shape this legacy, turning personal slurs into communal strength. Board members buzzed in, but Richard waved them silent. Maya decides the core. Her suggestions flew like blades, centrist in underserved neighborhoods, scholarships for nursing like hers. Eleanor's faded threats paled against this build, a foundation rising from rubble, promising healing for families fractured like theirs once were. You think this erases me? Eleanor's final text flashed on Richard's screen, her bitterness a ghost he swiped away, his fingers steady now, unburdened by her chains. He'd rebuilt from courtroom ashes, penthouse walls echoing with twins' laughter instead of empty deals. His hands, once clenched in boardrooms, now wiped sticky faces, presence of vow etched in daily choices. Maya leaned against the counter, watching him scoop the babies into a bath, bubbles flying as giggles erupted. She'd stepped in as partner, her Brooklyn fire tempering his steel, turning survival into thriving. They're yours, truly, she said, voice low, handing him a towel, her touch lingering, a silent bridge over shared scars. Richard's eyes met hers, gratitude raw. He'd chased empires, lost his wife to silence, but Maya's hold revived what grief stole. Family not in blood, but in showing up, midnight feeds where he once fled. The fund pulsed with life now, centresses rising in neighborhoods like hers, single moms claiming the education she fought for, her name on plaques a quiet triumph over slurs. We did this, he muttered, drying a twin's curls, his voice thick. Eleanor's visits, supervised and stiff, faded like bad dreams, her influence crushed under their built legacy. Maya knelt beside him, water splashing, her laugh joining the chaos. She'd comforted strangers in hospitals, unseen, but here her light exposed truths. Family strikes in inconvenient hours, holding bottles at dawn, repeating stories till eyelids droop. Richard's arm brushed hers, warmth spreading. He'd learned forgiveness over ego, choosing love's grind over pride's gloss. Not perfect, she whispered, lifting a twin, droplets flying, but real. He nodded, chest expanding. The world remembered the wedding flop, but they carved deeper, a viral mess birthing quiet healing, daily pics over grand gestures. Maya set the baby down, her eyes fierce. We stay, for them. Richard pulled her close, not romance, but alliance unbreakable. She'd arrived to soothe cries, stayed to mend a man, twins claiming her as anchor. Legacy unfolded in small acts, presence over poses, listening over commands, love's persistence in the mess. Family hit as choices, showing when it hurts, holding through storms, believing better waits. Richard tucked the twins in, Maya reading softly, her voice a lullaby weaving their futures. From scandal's edge, they forged unbreakable ties, proving stars needn't shine for endings to matter. Eleanor's shadow vanished, replaced by this. Two hearts small, one man awakened, one woman fierce, building home from ruins. Family demanded no biology, just commitment. Nights of stories, dawns of feeds, echoes of a wife's memory honored in action. Maya closed the book, lights dimming, her hand on his shoulder. This is it. He squeezed back, peace settling. They'd turned breakage into strength, a testament for those watching. Heal by presence, choose each other unseen, let love redefine the broken. And there you have it, folks, a story that started with chaos at a lavish wedding and blossomed into something truly profound. At its heart, this tale reminds us that family isn't defined by bloodlines, wealth, or perfect plans. It's about showing up in the messy moments, choosing compassion over prejudice, and finding strength in unexpected connections that heal old wounds and build new beginnings. What about you? Has there ever been a moment in your life where an act of kindness from a stranger, or perhaps your own quiet courage, completely redefined what family means to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories and reflections. Stay tuned for our next video, where we'll dive into another real-life drama of redemption and resilience that might just inspire your own path forward. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching and joining this journey with me. Until next time, take care and keep embracing those heartfelt connections. See you soon.